Every man a Wildcat, but we're different kinds of Wildcats over here. So let's do it. Welcome into another episode of McKale Madness. I'm your boy, Saul Bookman. I'm trying to get all squared away with you and whatnot. I don't know what happened to Corey. Corey must have hit the eject button and he just bounced. We were about to start the show with him. And now I'm solo. I love that. What's going on with you, man?
Man, don't get me started. Google Chrome is tripping, bro. Google Chrome is tripping.
Oh, dude, bro. Tell me about it, because I'm having some technical difficulties on this end myself. I can't get my camera right. Everything's all jacked up, but the voices are still coming in sultry smooth, so I guess that's all that really matters. So, Corey, how was your weekend?
It was good. A lot of good football. I sat down, not worried about whether the Dallas Cowboys were going to win or lose. I've been living stress-free for like the last 3 weeks. So ever since they ended our season 4 weeks ago, I've been watching football and enjoying it.
Yeah, it's listen, I'm a Cardinals fan, so I'm right there with you. Just a bunch of bums that don't know how to play football, apparently, and get paid lots of money to not know how to play football. So that's cool. And we're in the middle of yet another coaching search for like the upteenth time in my lifetime. I swear we've had 37 years of Cardinals football and like 37 coaches. So none of them can ever get it right. It is what it is. But I will say this, Corey, we actually wrapped up last week talking about, players coming back to play college ball from overseas and the G League and all this other stuff. And wouldn't you know it, some players decided to opt out of our own bowl game, and it is what it is. And we won't get too much into it. But did you have any reaction to any of the controversy, if you will, quote unquote? It's not really much of a controversy, but those players opting out of the bowl game before Arizona lost in the Holiday Bowl.
As I sip from my cup of misery, we got rid of we don't have a defensive coordinator anymore. And I tell people we didn't have one week 1, so ain't nothing different. We still didn't. We got one now. We didn't have one at the beginning of the year. So what do you want me to say? If you want to start an argument between me and my father, stand between us and bring up this topic.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's old school. He's like, you don't quit on your team. You play the games that's on the schedule, and it's not on no boomer, get off my lawn stuff, but he's a very principled individual. We often talk about the one and done. He argues that it's horrible. And I said, Dad, let's keep it real. If I had a chance to be one and done, no, we would have made you stay in school. I'm like, yeah, okay. That would have been a fight. Because if they was calling my name draft night and I was done, it wasn't no way. Wasn't no way I was coming back to campus in Tucson if the lottery pick people was telling me I was up in there. So he's a fervent believer. He raised me, and I consider myself to be a principled individual. But I have to be 100% honest. Given the violent nature that is football, if you've been playing since Pee-wee and your mom, spent the money and you've had the cleats and the pads and the tournaments and the travel and the hotels and then junior high and then high school and then college, and you do what you lift the weights and watch the film and you have the injuries, and then somebody tells you that they've got it on good authority that you are about to have generational wealth and reach your ultimate goal of the NFL, and you're 60 minutes away from that goal. We're not talking about a goal you set a month ago or 6 months ago or 6 years ago. We're talking about a goal you set 10, 15 years ago for yourself. And I'm in the insurance industry. We calculate risk all the time. And if someone is that close to generational wealth, I understand not taking the risk. The fan in me hates it. The athlete in me hates it. It goes against every instinct you have as a competitor to not play in a game. even if it's a bowl game that technically doesn't matter, but the spirit of sportsmanship, what sports is all about, commitment, sacrifice for the fan base, like how could you not play? And then I tell someone, if I gave you $2 million in this hand that you could just take right now, or you could take a chance and there was a 90% chance you'd get the $2 million. Which option would you take, the 100% or 90%? Everyone would pick the 100% because why put risk into the equation if you don't have to? Everyone agrees with that, but somehow we as fans, we're irrational. That's why we're called fanatics. We can't abide by it. We get a problem with it. And I get it. I get both sides of it.
Listen, I would agree with you normally, except you said one key phrase there that I'm going to disagree with. You said generational wealth. None of these guys are projected to be first round picks. That's where the generational wealth money comes from. Okay. Even if you were second round projection. Okay, cool. None of these players are top 100. Okay. So when you're talking about generational wealth, you're more talking about like a good start on your adult life. That's basically what we're talking about, right? A couple 100,000 here and there. If you are able to prosper and make it in the league, then sure. But this is not a generational wealth conversation, and that's the problem. Is that I think there's this confluence of what they meant to the program, what it ended up being, and where they're projected to go based on their own talent and what the projections of the NFL say. Now they could prove us all wrong for sure. We've seen it before. We will see it again. But I thought that the risk didn't necessarily outweigh the reward. And I thought anything you could put on tape, especially in a bowl game, you rise up, you're playing a good team in SMU, you can put, have a lasting memory of your performance. I think that can only help you. But I also understand the injury case. But listen, this is a basketball podcast. I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on that, and we can save that topic for another day because Lord knows we can go on and on about that, plenty of times. But as it stands, listen, Arizona just got done handling Utah with what I would say at ease, with ease. They led basically the entire game, and it seemed like every single time Utah tried to make a run, Arizona was right there to put their foot right back on their throat and show them who's the boss. And they ended up beating them by 20 plus. So, or actually 19 points, which I know Kevin Thomas is pretty salty about because he wanted to see them tie or break the record for the most consecutive 20-point victories in a season. So, Corey, when you look back at this, the one thing that I look at and I think about is just the balance all the way across the board. I mean, more and more every single game that comes and goes, I just feel like, how do you beat this team? Because you can't just focus on one individual. They all can beat you in a variety of different ways, down low in the post, outside on the perimeter. They all are selfless individuals where they will facilitate. I just think that the sum of all of its parts are definitely as great as they can be right now. And I just enjoy watching it.
Let's first of all stipulate that going forward, the Arizona offense will be referred to as the Grandma Hannah offense, as you just said, beating you in a variety of ways. You remember?
Oh yeah.
So we have to affectionately call it the Grandma Hannah offense from now on. But you make a great point. They're not a team that beats themselves. They're a team that defensively, let's be real. I mean, they do shoot the lane. Sometimes they get steals. They do get some interceptions of sloppy passes, but they're not really a crank it up, turn you over defensive team, but they do feast on your mistakes. That ill-advised quick shot, the blown layup, the flop, the transition quick shot that your coach wants you to work it around. They're one of those teams that they just have like they're a vice, and they just slowly crank down and turn down and tighten throughout the game. The more you miss, the more we score. The more you give up layups, we'll take them. You give up threes, we'll take those too. You're out of position, we'll knock down our free throws. Like, they take advantage of every mistake you make, and they're very consistent. I played on Arizona teams where, man, we came out of that tunnel at McKale Center and we jumped on you 20-4. We jumped on you 18-3. 18-6. Like, we jumped on you from the gate, and then you spent the rest of the team trying to catch up to players who were superior to you. That's not what they do. They don't trade buckets, but they just go back and forth and back and forth, and little 4-0 run, 6-0 run, 5-0 run, 3-point run. And next thing you know, you're down 17. You're like, how the hell? Yeah. They just steady, smooth, balanced is a great word. They're a team that takes what you give them. And we talked about balance and we talk about their depth, but you're 100% right. This Arizona team is very steady. They're built for the 40-minute game. They don't need to get hot for one half or have a good run to crack a game wide open. They can just take the points where they come. And eventually, over the course of 40 minutes, they look like they're always going to come out ahead. But it starts in the paint. You don't have big men that go for 20 and 10 against Arizona. You just don't. And you got to give our bigs a lot of credit for that. So it starts in the paint. Our perimeter players do what they do, but Arizona comes out with bigger, stronger, more experienced post players than most of their opponents. And I think that is a huge benefit, a huge plus for this Arizona team.
I totally agree. The one thing I keep going back to is, I remember playing against a kid by the name of Lamont Long up here at Corona del Sol High School when I was in high school. Okay. And I remember being so focused on him because he was averaging like 35 a game, and he was like one of the best players in the state at the same time McBibby was. And the only focus for me was like playing my best and defending him as best as we could. Now, there wasn't much of a defense for him because he could jump out the gym and he could shoot. He loved to hit the bank shot like Tim Duncan. But it was funny because in those games, I swear, I would look up in the second quarter, and just to your point, like you would look up and you're like, damn, how the hell are we down by 15 right now? Like it feels like we're playing decent, but they're so methodical, and every little mistake that you make, they will capitalize on, much like Houston last year. Houston didn't feel like they should be world beaters, but damn, it seemed like every single time you slip up just a little bit, gotcha. That 2-point miss or that sloppy pass that could have cut it to 2 or tie the game up. Now all of a sudden they come back down on the other end. They hit a 3, they're up 7 before you know it, you're out of the game.
Yeah.
And that's what Arizona is doing to teams right now, is they're just so methodical and they will capitalize. And listen, Arizona, I definitely feel like Arizona picks and chooses their spots, just like a lot of young teams will, where they kind of get sloppy sometimes. You saw it in the Utah game. Every now and then they would get a little sloppy with the ball. They'd let Utah get some free shots off, and you're like, all right, we got to play better defense. But then they were able to turn it on, which is both a good and a bad thing, because sometimes you might rely on that turn on against the wrong team on the wrong night, and that's how you get got, right?
For sure.
But I thought against Utah just didn't have that ability. They had 2 guys that could score at elite levels, and then everybody else was kind of, I won't say garbage, but they weren't that great. So that's what impresses me about Arizona.
Well, the Utah was overmatched defensively. They just couldn't guard. They didn't have a superior matchup at any of the 5 positions. And this is not a slight on Tobe, but even he was getting turnaround layup buckets in the paint at 6'8". He was just getting whatever he wanted. And when you look at the number of lobs and dunks and layups that they got, you allow a team that's uber talented to live at the rim, you have no chance. Like, you're giving up too many easy baskets. And over the course of 40 minutes, it's like, hey, your buckets are harder to come by than ours. It's easier for us to score than it is for you. I know that sounds oversimplified, and I know it sounds extremely obvious, but that's literally what basketball comes down to. It's what made Coach Olson a great coach. He coached and taught All-American players how to become All-American defensive players. So the same guys that are, not only are they better than you on offense, they defend better than you too. So you're struggling to score, and scoring kind of comes natural to them. They don't care who scores. Gilbert Arenas, Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye. It don't matter who scores for Arizona. They're all scorers. But they're picking pockets and blocking shots and stealing the ball and contesting everything, and they're hounding you for 40 straight minutes. You mean to tell me you got skilled all-American offensive weapons playing defense like that? That's always been the Arizona formula. To be quite honest, I hate to say it, but that's been the Duke formula. That's been the Gonzaga formula, getting talented players to D up. Utah just didn't have any defensive guys that were going to stand there and shut anything down. And that's what did them in over the 40 minutes. And Utah is not a bad team. They're going to pop some people this year in the Big 12. They're going to steal a couple games that they probably shouldn't get, but they just didn't have anybody that was going to stop Arizona's penetration. And they certainly had no answer for Arizona in the paint.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, over the course of the last couple days, I was thinking about like, okay, well, how good is this team going to be, and how good are they in retrospect, in comparison to teams like last year's Arizona team or Michigan, for which they're just one vote ahead of in the AP poll for number one overall in the country. So let's just take a look at a graphic that will show just that point. So let's take a look at last year's Arizona team and their best five. And their best five was Jaden Bradley, Carter Bryant, KJ Lewis, Caleb Love, and then Henry Vasar. Okay. And you see that big bubble that has their name. All right? And that's kind of middle of the pack. They were a little bit sus on the defensive end. They had good to average offense comparatively to the other teams in the nation. Okay. Now look at and you notice the smaller bubbles around them are shaded more towards the lower part where the defense gets a little bit worse. Now you look at this year's Arizona team, significantly different with their starting five of Bradley, Burries, Karchenkov, Krivas, and Koa Pete. Now they're a middle to the road, good, not great offense, but their defensive prowess is significant. And so when you're looking at Arizona compared to where they were last year, yeah, they're miles ahead of where they I think people would expect them to be. Compare them to Michigan, almost the exact same thing. And where I would challenge you to say, go back to that Arizona graphic right there. You see those bubbles, and we're going to get to the 8-man rotation, but those bubbles are smaller because they're not as reliant on the bench in various lineups as maybe you say a Michigan. And you look at the Michigan one, they do use a variety of different lineups, and that those metrics actually significantly go down quite a bit. When Awaka's in the lineup, the best 5-man lineup that Arizona has is if you take out Krivas and you put in Awaka, ironically enough. Now, these measurables measured a certain amount of possessions, and so the Awaka lineup, for whatever reason, didn't match those possessions. So that's where we sit in relative to last year's Arizona team and what everybody considers the two best teams in the country. So we're right there, neck and neck, best five versus best five. It's almost a tie, right? Now, we're going to take a look at who do I have next? I have Iowa State. Iowa State, the metrics love Iowa State and their percentage, defense, offense, they get high volume, high efficiency shots. Their defensive efficiency is elite. So the metrics love Iowa State right now. Now, Iowa State's strength of schedule hasn't been near what Arizona's has been, and so that's probably going to level out at some point, especially in Big 12 play. So I'm excited to see that. Now, here's where we get a little interesting. Now, before you get to the next, God dang it, Kevin, before we get to the next one, when you talk about recipes for failure or a recipe for disaster, and we talk about potential upsets in the tournament, you're going to look at a chart like BYU's. And this is great offense, not so great defense. Okay. This is the type of team that if they get a little cold and can't shoot the lights out, they're going to be in trouble in the tournament. And that's where I'm really interested to see where BYU goes this season. Now, they just played Kansas State, who Arizona's playing tomorrow. And listen, they handled business. They did what they needed to do on the road. And Manhattan's not the easiest place to play, as Arizona found out last year. But the metrics would tell you that BYU could be prone to some vulnerability come tournament time. And just for shits and giggles, let's take a look at K-State. Yeah, K-State's very bad. The metrics, for as much as they love Iowa State, they do not like Kansas State so much. Offense, defensive efficiency, not at its highest level. So Corey, when you take a look at that graph and that chart and those charts, does it surprise you to see the variability, especially when it comes to Michigan and Arizona and Iowa State, or did anything else stand out to you? Uh-oh, we lost your sound, buddy. Uh-oh.
We're good.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
there we go. All right.
There's always a story behind the numbers. When you see a team and you look at their analytics, you look at their statistics, you also have to incorporate the eyeball test. This is why so many people lose so much money on the sports betting apps, because they glance at some stats and they make a financial decision without ever actually putting their eyeballs on the things that they're betting on. And I say that because you may have a team that is a defensive pressure team that plays hella transition. Their stats and their numbers are going to reflect that. You may have a team that's only 6 deep. You have a team that's 11 deep. You may have a team that plays inside out, get it to the bigs, and we play outside of that. So the stats are a reflection of the team's style. Everybody wants to see Arizona, Michigan. Well, 2 conflicting styles. And whoever can establish their style is probably going to win that game. So when I see teams that don't really perform well on the defensive end, and they're got this concentrated lineup that does all their production, maybe they're not as deep. Maybe they play a slowed down half court style of play. Maybe they take fewer shots than a more up tempo team. So the stats don't read a lot to me. When I look at a BYU, I think, okay, this is a team that if you let them pass the ball around and get into their actions, you're going to be in trouble. But like you said, where a BYU may struggle, other than Debanza, they don't really have a guy who can put it on the deck and go get it.
No, they don't.
And in the tournament, anybody can play a triangle 2 or 1-3-1 zone, or can play aggressive man-to-man. If everybody on your team needs picks and penetrations and skip passes to get theirs, and you run into a team that's just going to sit in your jersey all night like Houston will, who's going to beat his man and go get a bucket? Who's going to get to the line and get the defender out of position and get a foul and get some free throws? I saw them on their heels in a couple of games this year because he's the only guy that can go get it.
Yeah.
And even if he does go get it for the tune of 35, you're going to need 70 to 90 points to win a college basketball game. So you got to have guys who are hell in the one-on-one. If you don't have that, everybody getting theirs, that's cool. But what happens when somebody gets in the passing lanes and shuts down the little handball game and the dribble handoffs and all the cute stuff you've been doing all season? What happens when somebody takes that away and it's like, now you have the ball, do something, because we're not letting you pass. We're not letting you set a screen. So how teams play, to me, is more indicative of what would happen in matchups than looking at stats. But I think it's very interesting, a lot of the stuff you pointed out.
Yeah, listen, I think this is what I mean. At the end of the day, this all tells a story about who the elite teams are, where they're elite, and that, to me, Corey, what's the number one thing that any coach in the country will always tell you at basically any level from high school on is like what always travels?
Defense.
Defense
and
always
rebounding. Yeah, defense and rebounding.
always travels. And the common theme about a lot of these teams, that the elite teams, is that their defense is elite. Like, they can guard you, and even if they're not on, they don't have a good shooting night, they're always going to be in the game and give themselves an opportunity to win these games because of how elite their defense is. And then you throw in the intangibles, and that's where I look at a team like Arizona, and you could throw UConn, Michigan, Houston obviously has shown this. Their intelligence, their basketball intelligence, the intangibles, all the small little details that go into a game that maybe you don't realize really contribute to winning, they do. And the great thing about Arizona's freshmen, and it's I can't emphasize this enough, the uniqueness of these freshmen is different than most high-level freshmen. Even AJ Debonta has played overseas in the World Cups, and he's won championships and stuff like that. When you look at Koa Pete, a 4-time state champion, a 3-time World Cup champion, and then you look at somebody like Ivan Karchenkov, who played professionally overseas, won the Euro Cup last year with his team. Like, these are things that tell you that these guys in their DNA have championship level experience. So they don't normally get rattled if things go a little off kilter here and there. They're going to find their way along these games, and they've shown that throughout the season. Obviously, game one with Koa, but even if you look at that UConn game, each one of those guys participated and contributed at a high level. Braden Burries was the one that was kind of a little shaky at first, and now he's starting to get his legs underneath him. He's starting to understand, like, okay, this is when I can pick and choose my spots. And it's just it's a hard pill for a lot of teams in the country to have to swallow, because this is a unique blend of freshmen to contribute with the veterans that they have, and the whole thing just mixes beautifully right now. They're going to find themselves with some adversity. Don't get me wrong. They're going to find themselves on the road against Houston. They're going to find themselves on the road against BYU. That's probably the first big one. TCU this weekend is no joke. And that's when they're really going to get tested. But they've already been in an environment like that at UConn. They understand what that could be like. Now, Kansas, Houston, well, I'll say Kansas at least. That's just a different ball game. BYU, that's just going to be a different ball game. We'll see how they handle that stuff. But I have all the confidence in the world in those guys.
I'm gonna just say this, and this is just how I feel. The only thing that's gonna slow down this Arizona team is cold shooting, and it's so obvious. I mean, it's not great insight, but that's the only thing that I would be concerned with, because Jaden Bradley can go anywhere on the court that he wants to. Koa Pete can get to anywhere he wants to. Krivas is 7'2". Tobe Awaka is the strongest player in college basketball. Krishenkov can penetrate and get to the rim. Deli can do his thing off the mid-range pull up. He can hit the three. Like, even if you've got great defenders, they're still going to create actions. Then there's nobody on this Arizona team that you can just lock down and stay in front of and keep them out of the lane. So these guys will create shots. Now, whether or not the shots go in, that's the only thing I'm concerned with. Arizona has defenders that can take away your penetration. And if you do happen to get by me, then go ahead and try your luck finishing over Krivas. He's 7'2", and he's making great blocks and staying out of foul trouble. So, is there somebody that can disrupt what Arizona does? Not so much. They run a motion offense, a lot of dribble handoff, great actions. They keep the ball moving. To a man, they're all weapons. They're all threats. They play together. But on a night where, Arizona has horrendous shooting, I could see things getting a little dicey. I'm not worried about them getting the shots. They will always get good shots with this team. This team is too talented not to get good shots. But you and I have already witnessed nights where from beyond the arc, it was terrible. But luckily we had an inside game popping, or offensive rebounds popping, or transition was popping. So we didn't have to pay a price for the poor half-court shooting. That to me would be that's the only thing I could say resembles an Achilles heel with this team.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think just the sum of all of its parts to me is, I can't really recall another team that has been as well balanced as this one. Even if you look at the national champ, I would probably say maybe 2001. 2001 was a pretty good, well-balanced team from top to bottom, right? Because even when you're looking at 97, you had for lack of a better word, the three amigos, right? Bibby, Simon, Dickerson. And then you had Bennett Davison and AJ Bramlett and Jason Terry coming off the bench, right? That's 6 pretty damn good players, right? Mm-hmm. After that, got a little slow down right there, right? Those 6 predominantly carried that entire roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to 2001, Jefferson, Arenas, Gardner, that was a pretty Luke Walton. That was a solid squad from top to bottom, right? This mirrors those types of teams where they just have solid, and one might say 8 is enough. Right, Kev? Hey.
Hey, that was my show back in the day. Nicholas with the little whack haircut.
If you don't know what 8 is enough is all about, listen, it was an 80s sitcom. Was it a sitcom?
70s. Well, there was like a little family comedy.
Was it like a dramedy or?
Yeah, exactly. It was like 8 is enough. They had little things came up from now and then, but mostly it was a comedy, man. But 8 is enough. That's what everybody's wondering. 8 is enough. Is it enough? When you've got 200 minutes to divide over 8 players, everybody knows how much they're going to play. They don't have to hang their head over a bad play because I'm out here for the duration. I know what my job is. I know what my role is. I can have a hot start. I can come on in the second half, but I'm part of the mix. That is and this is something a lot of coaches, they hint at, but they don't come right out and say. You're supposed to know where you are by mid-December, end of December. You're supposed to know what you got, what your lineups are. You got coaches still tweaking the starting lineup now in January because they don't know what they got. And they say, oh, yeah, we've got, this guy, this guy, this guy. But the truth of the matter is Arizona's got 8 guys that could all start on other teams inside the Big 12. They got 8 guys that all produce. They got 8 guys that all are going to play 25, 30 minutes. So I don't know how Tommy's doing it, but he's spreading that 200 minutes over these 8 guys. He's rotating 3 bigs. Koa Pete's in the mix with Krivas and Tobe. So among those 80 minutes, you got 3 guys splitting 80 minutes, and you got 5 guys splitting 120 minutes, and it works out perfectly. But Saul, I was thinking today, who I really feel bad for. I feel bad for Trey Townsend.
Whoa. Why?
Because Trey was supposed to get to play alongside Krivas. And his game would have looked completely different opposite that 7-footer. Think about it. Now let's put all our cards on the table. Trey Townsend was a 5th-year senior who wasn't he conference player of the year? He used to get buckets.
Yeah.
He was a monster. Like offensively, he never found his rhythm because the team was different last year. But I'm not going to say, I don't know that his numbers would look any different than Koa's if he was playing alongside Krivas. Trey could shoot the 3 easy, like on some deli type stuff. His 3-ball was nice. He wasn't as tall or strong as Koa, but he was solid. I'm looking at him on the high post, him on these pick and pops, him on these standing at the free throw line while Krivas shoots an up and under. Like his game would have been so much better in this lineup. Now, Koa Pete, he gets one-on-one opportunities because he's out there with Krivas. He gets offensive rebounds because he's out there with Tobe. He gets pick and pop situations. He gets the benefit of having that black hole 7-foot anchor out there on the court that demands respect. You just have to stand next to Krivas. Koa doesn't need a lot of room to get it off. He just needs you to be over there. Just be over there while I cook your boy. But I don't need it when you're getting the rock on the post and here comes Bo, the other big man, because nobody's worried about guarding the other big. So I look at Trey's skill set and I just wonder if he would have averaged 4 or 5 or 6 more points per game had Krivas been available last year. I'm a firm believer that those two were supposed to play together. That's what Tommy had in his head. And it was a different Arizona team when that didn't happen. Now we see the effects of Krivas being out there and everything opening up where Arizona literally has 5 or 6 players in double figures every night.
Oh,
we didn't have that last year.
Listen, I don't know if you're trying to rage bait me right now or not. But
I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious.
I respect Trey Townsend. All right,
senior with a lot of buckets under his belt. He got a lot of points.
I get that, but nothing last year told me that he was about that life. I understand that the year before at Oakland, he was able to ball out, and he did so against the likes of Kentucky in the tournament, and he played great. He did, okay? But there's a difference. There is a difference at playing at Oakland.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
And there ain't, if we lose to Kentucky, it don't matter. It was expected. It's fine. To going to Arizona where, fool, you lose this game and everybody's on your back.
For sure.
It's a completely different vibe, and I don't think he handled it very well. And listen, he had a couple games with Krivas in the lineup, and it didn't really show me much either. Koa did it game 1.
True. That's where I agree with you.
It's a little different there. Like, I agree with you. The outside shot's better than Koa's for sure. But Koa he's built like that. He's just a different cat. And I think a lot of that has to do with mentality. Because I think when things were going south for Trey, it took him forever to try and get himself out of it because he couldn't get into that rhythm, and then it was messing with his head. And then he started to build it towards the end of the year. He had a couple good games to end the season, but it just wasn't enough to really piggyback and carry the team like Arizona hoped it would.
It's like this. When you go to recruit a kid, you and I, we say we're coaches and we go to watch a game, and there's this kid coming off a pin down and he's knocked down 3 threes in a row. And you look at me and you're like, yo, we can run that same action here at Alabama or here at North Carolina. If we put that kid in that action in our gym, in our uniform, we're going to get the same result. Everybody knew Trey Townsend wasn't going to get the same shot selection at Arizona that he got at Oakland. But the question is, was he put in the same action that he was comfortable in? And I don't think he ever did. Let's be real. There were 3, maybe 4 people who shot or touched the ball before we even thought about getting it to Trey Townsend. Caleb Love was a volume shooter. Jaden Bradley was doing what he had to do.
Corey, was I don't mean to interrupt you, but Penn State is only down by 1 right now against Michigan with 47 seconds left to go.
Oh, and that's the number 1 team in the country because we need an East Coast team to get up there. And go Penn State. We just want to clear the decks on that. But that's awesome. But no, I'm just saying, like, Trey Townsend had to wait on 4 other people who were ahead of him in the shot chart. They just were, and that was just the nature of it. I don't want to make this all about Trey Townsend, but what I'm saying is Arizona's strength is they're an inside-out team. And I know for a fact when I talk to coaches about Arizona, they say, man, they're tough and they're physical. They don't say nothing about Jaden Bradley. They don't say nothing about Delhi. They don't say nothing about Karchenkov. They don't say nothing about Aristode. They say Krivas, Tobe, and Koa are a problem because if we don't solve that initial nuclear issue in the paint, it don't matter. Everybody got people who can shoot threes. Everybody got point guards that are kind of nice, but you don't have that. That alters shots, that gets offensive rebounds, that block shots, that it just dominates the paint. And coaches know if you can't win in the paint, you can't win. So Arizona is like, yeah, they're great in the perimeter as well. And that's when you just hang your head like, damn, what are we going to do? Yeah. Obviously, we got to double down on Krivas. We can't let him take crab dribbles and then drop off 4-foot jump hooks because he'll make those. We have to double Koa Pete because he's freaking Koa Pete. Dude, you only got 5 people. Who you leaving? You leaving Karchenkov because he can hit threes. You leaving Jaden Bradley? You can't leave him. You leaving Delhi? Nah, probably don't want to do that. I know you ain't leaving Braden Burries now that he done found himself. So the bigs create the looks that all these guys are getting. And I think as long as Arizona's got these people available and Tommy's already made it known, he's playing 8. 8 guys are playing. I always try to go inside the opposite coach's head. Like, how would I stop them? And you can have a strategy, but if you don't got the dogs, you just writing stuff down on paper, you might as well go do something else because it's not going to happen. You got to have somebody that's willing to turn around and push Tobe Awaka and keep him from getting a rebound. You got to have somebody who can hold their ground and not let Krivas inch towards the basket on every dribble. You got to have somebody who can get back, stay with Koa on the spin fadeaway jumper and contest. And I think a lot of coaches are looking up and down their roster and like, man, I don't see nobody who can do any of that. We're going to go zone. We about to zone it up, 2-3 zone and pray. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you listen to what I'm saying, you saw that priest bless that end zone during the Steeler game. Prayer. Jesus is coming back to college basketball because only Jesus can help you if you don't got no bigs against Arizona. You better get to the church and talk to the Lord. If you look down there and your big men are making TikTok videos, you ain't about to beat Arizona, brother.
Nope, it ain't gonna happen.
You better have some dogs, and I mean good kids, but you better have some kids that like to fight, that like to push and shove, because they're not going to deviate away from their game plan, which is to give it inside and see what you do.
All right, Corey.
We'll go from there.
Yeah, no, listen, I totally agree. In the words of Red from Shawshank Redemption, most of these teams are either get busy living or you get busy dying.
You know what I'm saying?
And most of them get busy dying.
They will get busy dying.
Penn State does have the ball down by 2, 15 seconds left. They just inbounded it. They're coming up the court. I'm going to give you a little bit play by play. Why not? You know what I'm saying? Davion has the ball. He's 6 of 15, 5, 4, 3. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing, guy? Shoots it at the buzzer. No good. He didn't even get the ball off on time. He didn't even get the ball off on time. What the hell was that?
Okay.
Bro, all he did was dribble back and forth a half court. Nobody even set a screen, and then he just pulled up and shot the ball, and that was it.
So
that was terrible.
Let's talk intersectionality, right? AAU basketball has lent its way to the DHO offense. Dribble handoff, dribble handoff, dribble handoff.
It wasn't even a dribble handoff.
The transfer portal has led to roster instability, which breaks up the teaching process. You and I are from an era, along with a lot of our other fans, where we've seen college basketball since the 80s and 90s. Well coached. Post or end game execution has fallen off. What you just saw was frustrating end game execution. Correct?
Three guys attempted to set a screen, and all three guys slipped the screen, didn't place a body on a man, nothing. Mans was just out there dribbling by himself, and then he chucks one up after the buzzer because he's a little stunned. I don't even know what the hell that was.
So what? And this is the thing that I love as an analyst. When we have that timeout for that final possession, Roxy or somebody will tee me, Corey, what do you think they need to do here? And I will tell the listener or the viewer, they need to get a ball screen on that point guard, get downhill, try to get to the free throw line. If you can get an and one or a wide open three, go for the win. But by all means, get an action going that gets you some momentum downhill, right? The coach is over there drawing up the same thing I'm talking about. And then them knuckleheads go out there and do some AAU craziness that nobody's ever seen. And then the coach has to go in the press conference like he can't coach and take the heat. You guys failed to get off a good shot in the final stages of the game. Coach, what went wrong? Oh, we just got to be better down the stretch. And, guys,
Corey,
we got a lot of work on. It was a good game. We gave a good effort, but we just couldn't get over the hump.
It's like, listen, man, this is why this is the best podcast in the world, because Corey just led me to a soundbite that's going to talk about that exact point. Run it, Kev.
Now, if I tell you not to cross the street, and I keep telling you, and I say, I swear, whatever you do not cross the street, and you do and the bus hits you, I'm going to take responsibility as your parent. But damn it, how many times do I have to tell you not to cross the street? We got some of that going on.
I mean, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. You just said it. Coach is over here telling you, hey, this is how we're going to win the game. Hey, we're going to play team ball. This is what we're going to do. You're going to set a screen. You're going to move this way. You're going to dribble handout, whatever. And you go out there and you play hero ball. And I just told you, don't be a hero. We almost beat the number one team in the country because we played as a unit. And then the last 15 seconds, we want to try and be the hero. And that, to me, is just unfortunate because, listen, Penn State winning that game could have set them up for the rest of the season.
So when you come to a university, I'll just use myself as an example. You come to Arizona with your own instincts and your own ideas. You played basketball at a very high level. That's why they recruited you. Now you're on campus. It is the coach's job to, one, develop a relationship of trust where he slowly, over the courses of days, weeks, and months, begins to replace your instincts and ideas with his own. That's coaching. You think you can split a double team and score because that's what you did in high school. I need to reprogram you so you don't try that crap while you're in a jersey playing for us because that'll cost us a game. So how do you remove instincts and change attitudes as a coach? Very simple. It's one of two things. Either you're not doing these things out of trust, a lack of trust. You don't trust what the coach has told you, or it's a pride thing and you just have a bad attitude. You understand what's being asked of you. You just don't want to do it. You want to play basketball the way you want to play it. Now, most coaches won't tell you if it's a trust or pride thing. They'll just give you a gloss over statement of, I've been telling people not to cross the street and they steady jaywalking. But they won't get into why are they jaywalking. Are they jaywalking because that basketball got them this far and they don't want to surrender and trust your coaching and your knowledge and your expertise. Mick Cronin will tell you he don't care. He'll name names in the press conferences. He will be like, this kid's a knucklehead. He don't listen, and that's why we lost. But that's Mick Cronin. He's one of very few coaches that'll do that. But a lot of coaches stand up there and take the hit because the kids have abandoned the team philosophy. When the chips are down and it's time to be selfless, you need to do the play, make the play that's going to help us win. We're talking about the number one team in the country where their point guard had like 4 points against Bethune-Cookman because it wasn't important to him. He's trying to win every game. He don't care about his stat line. They interviewed him after the Utah game, and I thought it was cool. Matt Muehlbach was on the game, another great Arizona Wildcat legend. They had the entire team lined up behind Jaden in the post-game press conference. If you don't understand how special that is, in a 20-point win, everybody lines up behind the point guard. They don't say anything. They're just standing behind him while he's being interviewed. The guy who was responsible for getting the rock to them other 6 guys that all had double figures, they're standing behind him. He makes sure they eat. He ain't concerned with himself. This is what coaches are dealing with right now. Either you have players like that or you have knuckleheads who come out of the timeout and do what they want to do, or you have guys that are mad because the play wasn't called for them, so they failed to execute. And I'm going to tell you something else, and this is a total random spinoff. I saw a TikTok today that reminded me that Scottie Pippen sat out that last play when Kukoc hit that jumper. I hated him all over again. How do you quit, bro? You like that to me, it's one thing to try what coach said to do and mess it up or miss the shot. But when you're like, nah, I don't even want to be a part of this. But mentally, that's where a lot of kids are right now. And the great coaches are really frustrated with it because, post-game execution details, that's the difference between getting bounced in the first round and popping champagne in the locker room. But details and being locked in.
But it's also, as a coach in today's game, like one of the things that Tommy Lloyd has done at the University of Arizona is he's gotten this reputation of being able to develop players. Okay. Now that development sometimes is not just a 1-year project, man. Like you need multiple years in Tommy's system and behind the scenes to be able to work and develop to the place that you need to ultimately be. Look at Henry Vasar is a perfect example of that. His development, and then he saw the opportunity and he continued to get better and better with those reps in the game. And now he got the bag and went to North Carolina. Good for him. That's fine. I think coaches like situations like that to some degree because at least I got to see the fruits of my labor. I invested in this individual. I groomed them and developed them to the point where they are a contributor at a high level at a high university. I think coaches get frustrated when these kids come in and they got all the praise in the world. They're the number 1 pick or they're going to be a lottery pick or whatever. And they come in and thinking that they're going to run the show with some of these guys are national championship level coaches. Some of these guys have been pretty close. Sean Miller been plenty close, plenty of times, and just think that they're going to do it their own way. And, listen, Sean Miller is one of the brightest coaches in the game. You know that. I know that. If you speak to him, every press conference I've ever been in with Sean Miller, I've always left being like, that dude's hella smart. He knows more about basketball than I feel like I ever will. He just sees the game a specific way. He's a brilliant mind. Now, his theatrics and his mannerisms and maybe his approach, especially in game, sometimes can turn people off, and you can take that or leave it, whatever it is. But he got results. And, when you're looking at a guy like Sean Miller on the sideline talking about, his players ain't listening to anything and they're stubborn and they're hard-headed and they got to learn the hard way. You said that there was 2 ways to be able to get through these players. There's a third way. And I think a lot of that third way, I don't know how many coaches use it to a high level anymore. And it's the phrase, get on the line. That's how I learned. Because every time you try to do a double, hero over here wants to be the hero. Get on the line, and then they're good cop, bad cop
thing dynamic is wearing thin because the portal is this big, huge thing in the background that kind of alleviates how much bad cop you can do nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in our day, it was bad cop 24/7. There was nowhere to go. You're just trapped in the corner getting beat on, and nothing you could do. Imagine it like this. Every coach has a system that they've developed, whether they were his associates or assistant coaches under other, they have a system, right? They'll go in a gym and they'll see that kid, man, he comes off those picks and boy, he stands over there in the zone and he just drills three. And then they say he's the best three-point shooter here at this AAU tournament. Man, this kid can shoot the three. And Kelvin Sampson will look at that kid and say, he can't play for me. He doesn't fit my system. I have defenders. This kid can't play no defense. He's a spot-up shooter. I can't give him a scholarship. Yeah, he can shoot, but he doesn't fit my system. Then you have another coach in the WCC is like, man, I run a zone offense and I need a kid like that. Coaches have to do grocery shopping based on what their best recipes are. What is your system? So you have a guy like Vasar who flourishes and Tommy has a system. Tommy needs a 6'11", 6'10" rim runner. He needs a 7-footer. He needs a guy who's a little bit athletic here. You've got coaches who, you ever notice you got college coaches who always keep a point guard that can go get it? They always get that East Coast Philly point guard with a lot of East-West, hezzy game, pull up, because that's part of their system. So when you talk about kids, the first mistake is getting a kid that doesn't fit your system. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are like, yo, he's the best player available. You should sign him. And the coach is like, nah, this is BYU. We don't do that ISO one-on-one dribble stuff. Rose didn't do that when he coached at BYU. So you take the kids whose games look like they're going to work in the way that you play. Sean Miller didn't believe in zone. Everybody, you remember Arizona fans, oh, Miller should play zone. He doesn't coach zone. You want zone, bring in Jim Boeheim. That's all he plays is zone. Jim Boeheim don't worry about no one-on-one breakdown drills. He don't go out and get guys that'll get up in your jersey and deflect passes. And he don't need those guys because he plays zone. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that Houston looks at guys who can play defense first, and then I'll teach you how to score. But boy, if you're a nasty junkyard dog and you love to push and bang and irritate people and strip ball, get on ball steals and all that, you can come play at Houston, son, because we're going to be shooting layups off the stuff you do, and everybody can make layups. Yeah. So coaches have to do the first part, recruit kids that fit their system. Fan bases have to understand, okay, we have a head coach. What is his system? What is his style of play? Because he's out there fitting pieces to the puzzle. Oh, man, I can't believe we missed on so-and-so. Newsflash. They probably never even recruited so-and-so.
Yeah.
Because he don't fit here. And I can tell you this right now, and I'll speak for him. Andy Enfield at USC back in the day had kids that Twitter and Instagram loved. Mm-hmm. Trash teammates. Mm-hmm. You couldn't build a fort with them kids. They wouldn't hustle. They wouldn't defend. They wouldn't do a damn thing. He would never say it, but I'll say it as somebody who covered the games. All they wanted to do is check their draft status and all this craziness in their phone, but they never committed to the team. Talented, all of them talented, but he couldn't build nothing with them kids because a lot of them were just checked out. They were on their own little deal. But go ahead.
And it was because it's Andy Enfield, right? Like not the biggest name, not the most popular name in college basketball. But I'll tell you what, he took Florida Gulf Coast all the way to where it needed to go.
He already proved he can coach. He's coaching his ass off now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but because these guys are, there's a little prima donna in them thinking that they know better than most.
All the success Duke has had, name me one player at Duke that did what the hell they wanted to do. Playing for Coach K. Never happened. Nope. Never happened. I don't care who you could be the one and done. Even Kyrie Irving did what he was told. Because his system is what it is. You can thrive in my system. My system will show off your best qualities and help you get to the league. But this is my system, and I'm picking the kids that go with my system. So we talk about things that you and I have witnessed, and now we're looking at, wow, man, these kids just attention to detail, end of game execution, all these things. And the coaches have to go out and put a Band-Aid over all of this and not badmouth their own teams, because you could say, Lute could say in 1994, we need better rebounding from Corey. He's got to give us more. And I could wake up in the morning and open up the Daily Star and see my coach tell the entire community that I need to rebound better. And I would take it on the chin and show up at 2:00 for practice, focusing on rebounding better. If you say that now in 2025, you got dudes in the portal 30 minutes later. Hey, man, you see what coach said in the man, I'm up out here.
Yep.
So it's a completely different environment. Accountability is a problem that a lot of coaches have. And I mean, how good do you get to recruit a kid? You don't go see high school tape. You don't get to talk to the principal, the high school coach anymore. You just going off what you saw at the AAU tournament, what's on a few websites, what you saw in person 1 or 2 times, and then you're making a commitment on the player. But I tell you what Sean did in that clip is what coaches do week after week after week. They put lipstick on a pig in order to keep the team together. Yep. They can't speak their true mind in a press conference because the fans, most fans who've never played, don't understand.
See, and I would almost challenge and say they should. You know why? Because I know that there's coaches out there that think they can fix anybody. But if I go out there and I'm like, yeah, PJ Simpson over here didn't box out 8 times in a row down the stretch, and he's been terrible in practice. He's got the worst attitude out there, and I'm trying to fix it, and he don't want to listen. How many coaches want to take on a problem like that?
That's true. That's true. And you know, when real coaching takes place is when there's that trust and that buy-in. NBA coach doesn't need you to trust him because you're under contract. If you play like crap, your next contract will reflect it financially. You're motivated by money. There's only 480 spots in the league. So there's a finite amount of guys here. Either you get with the program or you're going to find yourself overseas or in the G League. He don't got to convince you to go hard. He don't got to convince you to listen to him. Now, you may be making 5 times the money he makes, but at the end of the day, that coaching fraternity, the GMs, the scouts, when word gets out that you're a hero ball and you got a bad attitude and you're a locker room cancer, your career is on life support, just like that. So those guys have a different type of leverage where they can come in a press conference and be like, Giannis was trash tonight. Yeah. He showed up late. He didn't want to stretch. He didn't go hard. And that's why we lost the game. And they know Giannis got to show up for work tomorrow at practice because he's under contract. College coaches, they are on much thinner ice, much shorter leash than that. But I think you're right. I think a lot of them should start telling the truth. I know a lot of them loved Mick Cronin last year, secretly, privately. They applauded the way he was putting his team on Front Street. Everybody, all the fans, oh, Mick Cronin's a jerk. I'd never want to go play for him. Here's my thing, and this is what I challenge any player, and I think you would agree. If you're a player, I want you to ask yourself, if I do everything Mick says, does that get me closer to being a millionaire? What's the answer to that question?
Yes.
What do you tell you to do? Be a dog. Go out there and dominate. Be tough. Get the steals. Play defense. Attack the rim. Get to the free throws. Play smart. Make the right pass. Everything that man is yelling at you is designed to make you a millionaire, and you have a problem with it. And you're talking to a guy who never even sniffed the NBA. I had to get on a plane for 9 hours for 12 years and go to the other side of the earth to try to make some money playing ball. I did everything I was told to try to get close to that money, to try to get close to that fame. So the fact when I see kids that don't buy in, the old me used to shake my head and lecture. I just shake my head and laugh because it's your opportunity. It's your shot. You're wasting it. You'll be old one day and you'll realize that coach was trying to make you a millionaire. Was it something in it for him? Hell yeah. He wants to win too, but he's trying to take you where he wants to go.
Yeah.
So, man, 1 second to go, 15 seconds to go against Michigan, set the screen, get downhill, and make a play. I don't know what ended up happening. I'll watch the replay, but yeah, that execution is it's rough, man.
It was piss poor. It was piss poor. Before we do wrap this up, PJ Haggerty now at his 4th school, now at Kansas State, leading the team in scoring, and he's their best player. K-State just lost to BYU. K-State has had some ups and downs, hasn't had the greatest, schedule so far, hasn't really beat anybody of note. Any shot at the upset tomorrow, McKale, for K-State?
Hell no, ain't no shot at no
Okay. All right. That's what I figured. TCU on the road, though, is a different story. I think that's going to be a much closer game. But listen, the Wildcats should win both games and get prepared as they move on to next week. And we'll have the full recap and kind of look back at both of those games next week. We will be back next Thursday. So a week, 9 days from now, 9-day vacation, if you will. And then we'll be back next Thursday because Corey's got some games on the road coming up tomorrow and on. And
WCC action.
Yeah. Who you got?
I get to see the top 4 teams. I got Gonzaga, Santa Clara Thursday night. And then Tuesday night, we've got USF and St. Mary's. Those are the 4 top teams in WCC. Be interesting to see how many bids they get this year.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a 3-bid league if it all goes right. They got some dogs in that league right now. So, listen, fantastic insight, Corey. Appreciate that. We appreciate you all for joining us on the McKale Madness podcast. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and hit a like, and give us a comment on any of your podcast platforms. Tell us how much you love the show. Hey, if there's anything else you'd like to see in the show, feel free, hit me up on any of these platforms. You can follow him at College Corey. On Twitter, on Instagram. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman. You can follow the show at PHNX_Wildcats. I'll be live post-game on the PHNX Wildcats show after the K-State Arizona game from Tucson with my guys Kev and Dev. Damon, I should say. I said Kevin Dev. I don't know why I said that. Kevin Damon. They'll be live tomorrow night after for the post-game. So join them at PHNX_Wildcats. And until next time, as always, we love y'all. Bear down. Go Cats.
We all silly like the mayor.